The Manual for Teachers, Chapter 3. What are the levels of teaching? The teachers of God have no set teaching level. Interesting statement. Seems to mean that it's up to the teacher and pupil, however ready they are. They determine it. Each teaching learning situation involves a different relationship at the beginning, although the ultimate goal is always the same: to make of the relationship a holy relationship in which both can look upon the Son of God as sinless. So at the beginning, they may get along, they may not. It doesn't matter how it starts or where it starts. The ultimate goal, of course, is to look upon the Son of God as sinless. There is no one from whom a teacher of God cannot learn. Straightforward. Teacher of God, anyone who chooses to be, there is no one that he cannot learn from. So there is no one whom he cannot teach. Must look at every interaction or meeting as a teaching, learning situation. As a teacher. As a pupil. However, from a practical point of view, he cannot meet everyone, nor can everyone find him. Therefore, the plan includes very specific contexts to be made for each teacher of God. And as stated earlier somewhere, it's a big book, right? I have all these references down. Jesus says that he took that role. He is that role. He sets up the meetings. That's the plan. There are no accidents in salvation. Those who are to meet will meet, because together they have the potential for a holy relationship. They are ready for each other. The simplest level of teaching appears to be quite superficial. It consists of what seem to be very casual encounters, a chance meeting of two apparent strangers in an elevator, a child who is not looking where he is going, running into an adult by accident, two students who happen to walk home together. These are not chance happenings. Each of them has the potential for becoming a teaching, learning situation. Perhaps the seeming strangers in the elevator will smile to one another. Perhaps the adult will not scold the child for bumping into him. Perhaps the students will become friends. We need to recognize that everyone we meet is an opportunity. Everyone we meet is us. Even at the level of the most casual encounter, it is possible for two people to lose sight of separate interests, if only for a moment. That moment will be enough. Salvation has come. And oftentimes it could just be a chance meeting, and that's it. You recognize each other, you nod, and you acknowledge what you see in each other. It is difficult to understand that levels of teaching, the universal course, is a concept as meaningless in reality as is in time. It is difficult to understand that levels of teaching the universal course is a concept as meaningless in reality as is time. Levels of learning, it's maximal. Time, if you take away time, everything is maximal. It all happens. Levels are just superficial. It's up to us how much we want to learn and teach. The illusion of one permits the illusion of the other. In time, the teacher of God seems to begin to change his mind about the world with a single decision, and then learn more and more about the new direction as he teaches it. We have covered the illusion of time already, but the illusion of levels of teaching seem to be something different. Perhaps the best way to show that these levels cannot really exist is simply to say that any level of the teaching learning situation is part of God's plan for atonement, and his plan can have no levels, being a reflection of his will, absolute, maximal. I'm stating the same in different ways. Salvation is always ready and always there. God's teachers work at different levels, but the result is always the same. Each teaching learning situation is maximal in the sense that each person involved will learn the most that he can from the other person at that time. In this sense, and in this sense only, we can speak of levels of teaching. Using the term in this way, the second level of teaching is a more sustained relationship. So instead of just incidental and short, it's a sustained relationship in which, for a time, two people enter into a fairly intense teaching learning situation, and then appear to separate. They've learned what they can from each other, one deciding or both deciding, and that's it. It would be a mistake to look at that as sad or unfortunate. That's what it is. As with the first level, these meetings are not accidental, nor is what appears to be the end of the relationship. It's not accidental. We learned what we can from each other. Perhaps we'll meet again. Again, each has learned the most he can at that time, yet all who meet will someday meet again, for it is the destiny of all relationships to become holy, or whole. God is not mistaken in his Son. It's maximal, it's absolute, it's inevitable. The course is something that we take. The time we take it in is up to us. The third level of teaching occurs in relationships which, once they are formed, are lifelong. These are sorry, I'm getting caught up in the lifelong ones, good or bad. These are teaching learning situations in which each person is given a chosen learning partner who presents him with unlimited opportunities for learning. These relationships are generally few because their existence implies that those involved have reached a stage simultaneously in which the teaching-learning balance is actually perfect. This does not mean that they necessarily recognize this. In fact, they generally do not. I've had plenty of lifelong relationships. It could be family, it could be spouses, it could be friends. It's like oil and water, or sometimes it's wonderful, lifelong friends, and it's just awesome. In AA, there's sponsorship. There's just people that we just love to hang out with and spend time with. Mentors, relationships. So good. Could be seemingly positive, seemingly negative, but here it says, they may even be quite hostile to each other for some time, and perhaps for life. Yet, should they decide to learn it, the perfect lesson is before them and can be learned. There's this idea of, the person that you struggle with the most, or that you've got a resentment against, that's your savior, in a very literal sense. And if they decide to learn that lesson, they become, yet should they decide to learn it, the perfect lesson is before them and can be learned. It's up to us. And if they decide to learn that lesson, they become the saviors of the teachers who falter and may even seem to fail. No teacher of God can fail to find the help he needs.